are now perpetual bureaucracies. They can look at GM, look at Chrysler, look at Bank of America, look at
GM is back today.
Can I tell you guys? Hold on, let me just finish this. The stocks are already telling you this. Since GM has taken money and went from 10 to 2, since Bank of America took money, it's dropped from 20 to 2. Guys, think about it this way: would you rather use a private bathroom or a public bathroom? The government can't even run public toilets. It's not going to be able to run the public bathroom system.
And the big problem is that what happens is they end up subsidizing these inefficient companies, and they divert resources that could have been better used by more productive companies that could create the jobs in the future.
You're competing against companies that are getting those.
I know.
I disagree. I disagree. A company like Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, they're going to pay that money back.
Congressman Paul, do members of Congress have conversations like we're having now about the practical human effect of a private corporation getting into bed with the federal government?
Oh, a dozen or so would understand it and have discussions like that. But most of them sort of like the idea. The liberals who are in charge right now, that's their goal, because they don't really believe in private property and that people are smart enough to run things. They don't believe that the profit motive really works, so only they would know what to do and what salary should be paid and what labor should cost. So they really are as close to socialism without being called socialist as possible.
I don't want to pick necessarily on Senator Graham, but he did say over the weekend, and I don't know how he meant this. I don't know if he meant it that this is what the liberals want or this is what we all have to confront, when he said that nationalization of banks is on the table. Now, this is one of the most awful things that they can even contemplate. What does a so-called conservative Republican from South Carolina mean by saying that?
Well, it tells you something about him, and I think people should remember that. They should look at Jim DeMint and also Mark Sanders, who's from South Carolina. They're so much better. But Lindsey Graham does not represent the free market. And as I close on this statement, I have to excuse myself because I have another call coming in. But I want to thank everybody for having me on today.
Thank you, Congressman Paul. It's always a pleasure.
It also means the Constitution is off the table.
It means the Constitution is off the table. The argument against the retroactive application of salary caps is such a very basic one. It is quite simply a taking. It is literally the government taking something without just compensation. I would think that as loath as a court would be to stop the stimulus, because judges don't like to get involved in politics, stopping the retroactive salary cap would be very easy for a federal judge to do. A first-year law student can make the argument.
But these companies took the government money. The government gave them the money, so they're just taking back.
But the condition wasn't there at the time they took it.
It's the But guys, the laws that existed for the government to give them money didn't exist when they gave it to them either. So the slippery slope, I've been writing for months. They created anarchy. They can, but they created anarchy. We no longer have rule of law in this country. We no longer have private property.
Here's why you're both right. Because the Constitution is very clear as to what the government can do and can't do, but those who have taken an oath to uphold it simply do not comply with the oath. They either haven't read the Constitution, don't care about it, or spend most of their time trying to avoid it.
And it's because the judiciary has totally abdicated their responsibility. They let them get away with it. That whole branch of government has basically disappeared. They don't serve their function.
It's almost a morality issue. It's like my kid. I say to my kid, you clean your room, you get to go out and play. And then I say, he cleans his room, and I say, yeah, now you got to clean your sister's room. Then you can go out and play. And I keep adding, and the poor kid never sees the light of day.
That's what it feels like.
The history of constitutional law, from Lincoln's time to the present, particularly from FDR's time to the present, is the federal government finding ways to evade the Constitution and the federal judiciary going along with it. That is the demise of our constitutional system.
How do we get this
so it's the judiciary system.
You have to hope that judges who have true fidelity to the Constitution, of which there are few, also have the courage to say to the federal government, to say the executive branch, thou shalt not pass. Steve Moore from the Wall Street Journal joins us now. Steve, welcome back to Freedom Watch.
Hey, it's great to be back with you guys.
Is Steve with us?
Yes, I think the speaker.
I am there. I'm here.
On the floor is turned off or not loud enough.
And Judge, I think I have to go. Is this the 12:30?
All right, Steve Moore, are you with us?
Okay.
Okay.
That's there.
Try that again, please. How you doing? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
All right, Steve, we got you loud and clear. Tracy Burns is leaving us. Congressman Paul has left us.
so
Steve Moore
sad.
from the Wall Street Journal has until next Wednesday.
All right, I'll be here.
Tracy, and before Steve joins us, just a reminder that you can email us at strategyroom, one word, strategyroom @foxnews.com. Has Lew Rockwell joined us? Lew, are you here?
Judge, great to be with you.
Lew Rockwell, who runs LewRockwell.com, who is the founder and chief executive officer of the Mises Institute in Auburn, Alabama, joins us as well. We have just finished talking about the stimulus. We've just finished talking about why no one considers the fact that the stimulus is going to have to be paid back, why no one takes into account the constitutional violations. We want to focus in a little bit now on the automobile industry, on GM and Chrysler. And just by way of a little bit of background, and then I'll go to you, Lew, and then Steve, then the rest of us will question you on it. The Congress, having no regard for the Constitution, gave President Bush and Secretary Paulson a checkbook with $700 billion in it. And then the big three came to the Congress and said, well, we want $17 billion of our own, and the House voted $14 billion, and the Senate voted nothing. In defiance of the Senate and in ignorance of the House, President Bush told Hank Paulson to give $14 billion to General Motors. It only lasted 3 months. Lew Rockwell, are you surprised that they are back for more, tin cup in hand?
No, I remember back when they were asking for this money initially, General Motors was losing $4,000 on every car it sold. Now that's a market signal. Don't, go out of business, and they should have gone out of business. And I hope to goodness they go out of business now rather than get this additional bailout. Although I must say I'm not optimistic. I'm afraid the government will keep them in existence for UAW reasons and for because of special interest reasons and all the people who are involved in General Motors. But for the sake of American people, Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler, unless they can stay in business on their own 2 feet, need to go bankrupt, and we need to get rid of them. And let somebody come in there and reorganize them, whether it's Toyota or somebody who knows actually how to make cars and sell cars that people want to buy.
Break them into 10 companies.
Before we continue with you, Lew, thank you, and before we get to Steve Moore, what is our time period, Trace?
We got about 2 minutes.
Okay, in about 2 minutes. Right now, Judge. In about 2 minutes, we're going to be live on the Fox News channel, in which Trace Gallagher and I are going to talk about more nonsense that came down from a federal court today, violating the Constitution. Before we do that, Steve, what does President Obama want to give these car companies today over and above what George Bush gave them on Christmas Eve?
Well, Judge, this is exactly what I was worried about when the first bailout came around, which is this becoming tin cup in hand very soon for more, and we're seeing that right now. The point is that they might be asking for as much as $100 billion when this is all said and done. And at one point, do we stop throwing good money after bad? There are only about 40 or 50,000 workers left at some of these auto companies. So it's not as if, most of the jobs have already been lost. I don't see the sense in continuing to throw dollars at these companies when I think bankruptcy is the right option. Let them reorganize themselves. Maybe the big three will become big one. But it's better to have one profitable company than three that are losing money.
Lew, of the government taking our tax dollars from us by force and putting it into companies where we as consumers wouldn't buy the product and as investors wouldn't buy the stock.
Well, Judge,
I call the federal government a gang of thieves writ large. It's just an act of theft. They're taking money from people we are already poorer in this country, all of us, the average American, and they're making us poorer still to keep losers in existence who make far more money than the average American. It's of course nothing but a crime, one of many crimes that's being committed by the government, but it's definitely a crime that ought to be stopped.
Before we get to Steve, how close are we to your time?
Still in commercial break.
Okay, Steve, you wanted to respond to the government forcing our dollars.
I was just going to make one other point. The quote stimulus bill that they passed authorizes somewhere near $1 billion for the federal government to actually directly purchase new cars for federal bureaucrats to drive around in. Now, think about that in the context of first we give them, tens of billions of dollars of bailout money, and then we actually, the only people who want to buy their cars